Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner for my Quick Tip Thursday. This is episode number 58. And before we get started, I would like to thank these people for their comments. Definitely Sandy. She told me that the microphone that I recommended had gone up in price, but I still think it's a pretty good price at $39.99. I think when I bought it, it said it was a deal of the day kind of a thing. So, I got it at a really good price. Amy said, don't listen to your sister when I said that she doesn't like me having this part of the video where I thank people. And she is my older sister, but no, I'm not going to listen to her on that. I'm going to still continue to thank people. And Sheila is a new subby. So thank you, Sheila. Well, let's get started on my quick tip today. So, what I've done is I have brought you guys out to my garage, and I'm lucky enough to have this nice table here out in my garage. And my quick tip is if you are going to do something like coffee dyeing things, you might as well do a lot, because if you're going to pull out all of those things to coffee dye, whether it be glassine bags, which I have a lot here because I'm going to be working on some glassine bag rice paper things, but look at up here. I've got a lot of these here already that were dry, fairly dry. They just needed to completely dry a little bit more. But yeah, if you're going to do something, do it is in a mass make so that you don't have to pull out your stuff quite so often. So the next thing I want to do is to decorate some glassine bags. And you saw how many bags I have, or that I coffee dyed. Here they are. I mean, just a ton of them. And then I also have these paper bags, small little paper bags that are good for decoupaging on. But I have so much rice paper in my collection, just tons of it. And I need to use some of it up. And one thing that I do as another little quick tip is when I do tear some of these images up, like for instance, let me show you here, like this sheet right here, you can tear these off and use individual ones. And when I tear them off, if there's any extra, I put them in a little baggie. And it's better to tear the rice paper. I feel it looks better. I do have some in my shop already, but I found a couple of different ones that were in this box that I needed to actually list. One is this one with these roosters. Then I've got some mushroom ones. This is a really big one. It is some roses. I'm not sure if I'll get it done tomorrow, but I do need to list those for you guys. So the bags themselves. What I do is once you coffee dye them, you need to go in with a ruler and open them up. I've got one here that I haven't done. And sometimes they glue together. See how that is right there? It's a little bit difficult to get in there. So I take a ruler and I gently try to open that up. It would have been better if I would have gone in there when the bag was still a little bit wet, but I had forgot to do that. Sorry for that right there, that glare of the light. I'm filming this in the evening. If I film this during the daytime, that isn't there. So I apologize for that, you guys. Maybe if I took this off, it would be better. I think I'm going to do that. But anyway, you open up your bag like that. Now, occasionally, let me remove this, because maybe that's part of the problem. Oh yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Yeah, then we don't have that glare. Now, occasionally, you will be opening the bag and you have a small rip. Let me show you how I solve that. I take a piece of coffee dyed tracing paper and I just tear where it needs to go, just to kind of cover that up. It won't matter if it doesn't match up completely, because once you add your decoupage image over the top, your rice paper, it doesn't matter. So all I do is I just tear off, like I said, a little piece of tracing paper that I've coffee dyed, and I just add a tiny little bit of glue there, and then I can come in and bring it all the way to the edge, and then I flip it over, add some glue there, and then adhere that like that. And so then now this glassine bag is sealed nicely. I mean, I have a nice edge. So let's do a few bags, and I've gone ahead and pulled out what I want to put on them. Now, this is a tiny bit of Mod Podge that has been watered down. And what I do is, I think it's about half Mod Podge, half water. But occasionally then I go in with a little bit of coffee, and had a little skin on there, a little bit of coffee, and to darken it up so that the glue itself, or the Mod Podge, is not pure white. So let's just add, how did this go? I think this goes like this. So I add a little bit of Mod Podge and then some rice paper, and then another little layer of glue or the Mod Podge over the top. And then let's add that like that. And then you just let it sit and dry, and they make really nice pockets for your journals. They're strengthened, and depending on the image you use, whether it be like this one is a floral one. Okay, I'm going to set this off to the side to dry. I have another one here where I'm going to piecemeal it here. So I have rice paper with the word Paris on there. Now you can see here, I also did a little reinforcement there because it had torn. Yes, my next journal I'm going to make is using Jaff's, what's it called? Feminine Ooh, so I can't remember what it is, but it's going to be a French journal with women, with a lot of women, very feminine, very girly, and a lot of French ephemera and book pages. That's what I want to do. I may use, or I more than likely will also use Rachel's Italian Ladies kit. Even though it's Italian ladies and I'm doing a French journal, they can look French. They're they're close by in countries, so those Italian ladies could have gotten their fashion in France. They had gone to Paris shopping. Oh, so yeah, you just lay down some of the glue and then whatever image you want over the top. And like I said, I think it's better to tear the rice paper. I think it looks a little bit better than a straight line. So I realized I just looked up at the clock. It's 7:17. I've got to go pick, that's in the evening. I've got to go pick Pascal up from work at 8 o'clock. So I thought, oh man, I've got to get this done. And I was going to cook us some steaks. I try to have dinner for him when he gets off of work. And so we tend to eat late when he's working so that he's got somebody to eat with. And so I was going to make some steaks, and I'm going to make, well, I was going to make a baked potato, but it's too late now for me to make a baked potato. I know you can make baked potatoes in the microwave. I don't like how they taste. I like a baked potato in the oven. So I guess I'll make us some rice. That'll have to be how we do it. Now you have to be careful. Don't get glue too close to that edge and accidentally glue your bag. This is going to be a nice big one. I think in my shop right now I have some more of these roses rice paper. I have some French children in there. I may have the French man and woman in there also. I was seeing that my supply of what's in my shop is a little diminished, and I went online last night to see about purchasing some more in bulk, and it had really gone up in price. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. The nice thing though is whatever piece you do order, you can get many bags out of it, or decoupage many things with it. One sheet will go a really long way. All right, set that over to the side, and I've got one more here, and it's of this lady here. And you see, once again, I had to reinforce that bag because it had torn when I was trying to take it apart. I really need to remember to do that when they're still wet. So yes, I'm going to do a lot of these because, like I said, that's my quick tip. If you're going to have your paintbrushes out and your Mod Podge and your rice paper, you might as well decoupage a lot of them, and then you've got them in your stash. The other thing I thought about doing, since I have so many, I might even put some in my shop where you'd get like, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe 5 bags, and then you wouldn't have to do it. We'll have to see if I can get a lot of these done. And then what I do is, because I have two paint brushes that I'm using, is I have a smaller one and a big one. Then I just pop them into that water. So let me get the other ones so that I can show you what I did. Oh, and real quick, before I go get those other ones. Now this is a paper bag. And so it doesn't have that shiny, waxy feel like a glassine bag. So while it is drying, I try to remember to put my hand down in there, and then wherever I lay it to finish drying, I make sure it's kind of popped open like that. Here are the ones that I had done earlier, and if you notice, like right here, that didn't get glued down. All you have to do is kind of snip that off. This, if you wanted, that's a little white there, you could bring in a little vintage photo and just cover up that white part there. But yes, look at that. Oh, this is what I had done with this one. So this was going to be sewn into a signature. So this was going to be a side loading pocket, and this was going to be a side loading pocket. So that's what I had done with that one. And then I've got this one here. And they will be filled with some really nice little journaling cards or tags. And once again, there's a little bit of white. Just take your vintage photo and go over that. Here's one of those little small ones here. This is like a corset there. Now these here are with the paper bags, and I see this here, it says $1. I must have picked these up at some yard sale for $1. So those are really nice. That was a good deal there. So I did not have to coffee dye these. I just used the rice paper over them. So look at that one. Isn't that pretty? And then I have another Paris one here. That rice, sometimes it sticks out. And then this last one here, it's got some script and roses. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today for this Quick Tip Thursday, and I will see you guys on Saturday for Slow Stitch Saturday. Ooh, it's exciting. I figured out a way to make the drawers. Remember, my Slow Stitch still life piece is of my craft desk. I figured out a way to make the washi tape drawers using fabric turn into washi tape. It's hard for me to explain, but anyway, it's exciting that I figured that out. So anyway, thanks again, guys, and I'll see you guys Saturday. Thanks, and bye-bye.